Excellent. Right. Shall we start? And we should do. Yeah, no, running 4 minutes late already, but hopefully we'll finish on time, he says. So welcome to the second in our series of hopefully 3, possibly, teacher development meetings around the Cultural Rucksack. I'm Martin Smith, and I'm currently have the pleasure of leading this project, and it is because it's been a real positive break for me outside all the other stuff I've been having to do as part of the day job. So it's been wonderful. And we'll go through with you today some of the updates and things that we've been working on over the last few weeks, and how we followed up actually quite a few of the suggestions that were made last time and incorporated them within our evolving concepts of what the rucksack is. And we'll, for those of you who are new today, we'll have a very brief update of that in a few minutes, and we'll go through, let's say, some of the follow-up of the previous meeting and our sort of plans for the future as part of the agenda items. Is there enough of us? It'd be worth just running around the block actually seeing who's who? Would that be right? So Kathy, if I go to you first, because you've thrown me in the chair all of a sudden, so you can at least talk second.
Hi, I'm Kathy, Kathy Mahmood, and I manage Challenge, the Cultural Education Partnership for Nottingham. So the Cultural Rucksack sits within Challenge, and we are, we're really trying to find the best ways to present this to all of the schools. We're really keen to work with you collaboratively and connect you with as many of the arts organisations working across the city as possible. So yeah, that's me. Okay, now I'll go down my list of participants on my screen on the right here, so it might make no sense in terms of what you can view. So Amber, could you go next for us, please?
So I'm not Amber, that's my daughter.
Oh, right, okay, that's me.
It's fine, it's just because she's set up on here for school. And my name's Louise Carlton. I teach at Crabtree Farm. I've been there for 3 years, and I've just been asked to lead performing arts across the school. And I've just started the Arts Mark. We're looking to go for gold in the next couple of years. So that's me.
That'll be music to Nettie's ears. Well done, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Gareth, just a quick one, because you'll be on shortly. So I'll let you introduce
hello, I'm Gareth. I'm the learning manager at the about to reopen Nottingham Castle. So I hope to dazzle you with some exciting things that we're going to be doing, and kind of open the floor up to things you'd like to see us do, because we're trying to build bespoking into our workshop programme.
Excellent, Gareth. Thanks ever so much. Hannah Bars, music. I don't know where you are.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm from the Music Hub. Sorry, I've got the camera off. I've got a low bandwidth. So, I am here though. Yeah, we're busy this week, I guess, because we're back in schools in the main after some time away, but it's been really good during lockdown to have the continuity working with schools, and now it's great that they all want us back again. So yeah, good times. It's all good.
Excellent. Cheers, Hannah. I'll go Jane next. Jane Thomas.
Hi, I'm Jane Thomas. I'm assistant.
Just lost you there, Jane, for a second. I think you might have just. That's it.
There we go. Sorry. I'm assistant head at Old Baseford Primary, and I'm the curriculum lead.
Right. Thank you ever so much, Jane. Joanna Kingdom, which I've seen somewhere today early on. Yeah.
Yes, I'm here. Hi, I'm the learning officer from the National Justice Museum Nottingham branch. So yeah, we're currently closed, obviously, and most of the learning team are flexi furloughs, but we are still doing online stuff and outreach as well. We're looking at doing more of that as well. So Christmas.
Excellent, thanks, Joe. Okay, and Kerry, good to see you here. I saw you pop up earlier on.
Yeah, I often pop up. Right, hi, I'm Kerry Whiting from Robinhood Primary School and the main arts lead for the school.
Excellent, thanks, Kerry. Maria, you're next on my list.
I'm Maria Narducci. I'm the marketing associate for Challenge. I work with Kathy and Martin.
Thanks, Maria. That's lovely. Nettie, I know you're down the bottom of my screen there somewhere. That's it.
Yeah, I'm here. Lovely to see you all. I work for the Mighty Creatives supporting schools who are doing Arts Mark and Arts Award, and even those schools that aren't, I support them and try to connect them up with cultural organisations or answer any questions. that's me.
Excellent, thanks Nettie, really appreciate that. Rick, birthday boy, where are we? There we are.
Yeah, thank you. Hi everyone. Yeah, Rick Hall from Ignite, creative education charity here in Nottingham. We are also the producers of the Nottingham Festival of Science and Curiosity, which has just happened in February. And we're very keen to support projects with schools, particularly around curiosity and creativity, possibly even combining arts awards with Crest Awards.
Ooh, blimey. Perhaps tell us more about that as well at some stage. Rick, that's really interesting. Thank you ever so much for that. Rosaline North, well, no, we've talked to you earlier, yeah, wonderful classroom.
Rosaline or Rosie.
Rosie.
I'm Rosie North. I am a teacher from St Mary's Catholic Primary in Hyson Green. I'm standing in for Anne-Marie Head, but I'm a year 1 teacher, stroke PE and Spanish the other half of my week throughout the school, but really keen and excited about this cultural rucksack. So I put my hand up with a big swift hand up when she couldn't make it today. So I'm quite excited to hear what it's all about.
Excellent. And just to say to everybody, that's not a backdrop either, is it, behind you? No.
No, I'm in my class.
Excellent. I've seen some backdrop classrooms, so it's very, very realistic, that one. Sarah's next, yeah.
Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm from Our Lady of Perpetual Catholic Primary in Bulwell. We've just started on our second round of Arts Mark with Nettie. I often work with Kathy and the others down on the Bulwell festival. So yeah, I'm interested in all these things that are going for the children. So
brilliant. That sounds great, Sarah. Thanks ever so much. Simon next, I believe, on my list anyway.
Yeah, hi, I'm Simon. I'm a curriculum development lead / PE teacher at Deanwood and Unity in the centre of town, pupil referral unit. So yeah.
Yep, know it well. Well done, Simon. Excellent. And Martha's next.
Hello everybody, I'm Martha. I work a couple of days with secondary schools in the city who are part of the Archway Learning Trust, and I also work with the Nottingham Schools Trust looking at their art delivery, as well as working with the associate schools with the RSC. That's an 11 school partnership. Thanks.
Lovely. Thanks, Martha. Good to see you. And I've got Annette, I think, for last on my list.
Hello, I'm Annette Willoughby. I'm a postgraduate researcher for the Challenge project in my first year.
All right. Yes, of course. Hi, Annette. And I've just somebody on there. Is it Christina? Yeah.
Hello. Sorry, I'm in and out. Connection's a bit dodgy.
Yeah, that's all right.
I'm here with Simon Dyer, representing Deanwood and Unity Academy. So I'm assistant principal there for teaching and learning. So yeah, with the Brew.
Okay, thanks ever so much. That's brilliant. Okay, folks. Right, we'll kick off. We're going to start off with Gareth, if that's okay. I can finish my cup of coffee then, because I'm sharing it, so it'll be quite handy. And you're going to tell us, aren't you, a little bit about the new developments of the Nottingham Castle, what's opening, and how we can perhaps get involved and shape some of the work that you're doing. Oh, there we go.
Gareth, you're muted.
Can you unmute?
I don't know. Gareth, can you unmute?
These things are great, so they go wrong.
Okay, we're unmuted now. Okay, fabulous. Right, let's see if I can start the slideshow. I think I was trying to do too many things on an incredibly slow computer.
That's okay.
Let's see if this works.
Beautiful watercolours.
They're gorgeous, aren't they? If anybody's ever worked with Hannah Sortell, they're by Hannah, and She's absolutely fabulous. So yes, beautiful Nottingham Castle images. So but I'm gonna quickly leap from those into talking about our learning castle. So obviously Nottingham Castle is reopening this year. It's been pushed back a few times, as have many things over the last year and a half, but we will be opening before the end of term in terms of the year this year. That's about all I can tell you until maybe next Tuesday, when there might be an announcement. He said semi-coyly around an embargoed decision, but watch this space. But we hope that there will be a chance for schools to come and visit us. If not this academic year, certainly next academic year, we're going to be ready and raring to go. We're going to be offering learning mostly around kind of 4 key areas. Those STEM and learning outside the classroom is going to be a big part of that, increasingly because we're going to be making use of our grounds quite a lot more. But mostly, and I think what most people would assume to be looking at, is history and art and design, with our 2 history galleries and our 2 art galleries. If anybody's ever worked with me before, they know I'm a nut about literacy, but also, and I've highlighted this in kind of this kind of turquoisey colour, is citizenship and British values, which, from having spoken to teachers in the past, has often been a slightly thorny issue. In that it's a phrase and a part of the curriculum that sometimes feels a bit prescriptive and quite narrow in the way that it ascribes particular values to a certain national identity, which might be at odds with a school's cultural makeup, a school's ethnic makeup, in terms of the diversity that we have here in the city. And we've always wanted to find ways that we can support schools and teachers in doing this, but also make use of, and here's the time that I get to use my prop, everybody's favourite part of Nottingham, which is the fact that we are the home of Robin Hood. So, British values, challenges and opportunities. What does Robin Hood allow us to do at Nottingham Castle? If we look at those 5 British values that are put forward by the Department for Education, quite a few of those, particularly the rule of law, is one which is not something that Robin Hood follows. Robin Hood lives outside of the law. They are an outlaw. But the idea that democracy and this kind of hierarchy of values is something that I've seen around the place. Democracy was not something that was seen then. If you look at the ideas around King John and the ideas of Magna Carta, actually there is a complete ignorance and non-prescription toward democracy. So we can play and toy about with these ideas in quite a fun way, I hope, at the castle. We're really lucky, and Joe's here, which is great, to have 2 really socially engaged and historically led sites in the city that can offer different and diverse things around this part of democracy, rule of law, individual liberty, mutual respect, elements of the curriculum, but can do things in different ways as well. So if you look at the really amazing Ben Kinsella work that Joe does at National Justice Museum, it's going to be very different to what I do, goofing around wearing a stupid hat. But I think each has a value in different ways and can teach different things. So one of the things that we've put together is our Robin Hood Outlaw Challenges workshop. And Martin and I have had some of the discussions around this, and Martin supported some of the ideas around that learning outside of the classroom side of things. What we hope to be doing is, when school groups come onto sites, that we use our grounds and our outdoor areas to be able to teach much more. We know that schools will be wanting to come and see the amazing stuff we've got indoors, but also using those outdoor spaces, especially when there's a potential reticence around indoor spaces with COVID-19. Let's use our outdoor spaces. We're dead lucky to have one, so we're going to make a good use of it. So our hope is that we can do a bit of preamble at the start of it, and also we'll send some work out to schools should they want to engage with it, looking at some of the background and the traditions, the context, and the idea of the oral tradition as well. The first written example we have of Robin Hood is from 1377, and if you ever did Piers Plowman when you were doing your A-levels or at university, it's in there. There's a character called I forget his name now. He's the local curate, and he says that I do not know my paternoster, but I know the rhymes of Robin Hood, which vaguely translates into nowadays speak of I don't know how to say the Lord's Prayer, but I know what people sing down the pub. The history of Robin Hood is told through a balladic tradition, which is people singing songs in pubs. That's how we know these stories. And Robin Hood is one of those really early ones. And Robin Hood crops up time and time and time again as this popular character, where we see loads of others pop up, people like Harriet the Wait, and there's a monk who's a pirate in the English Channel. But the one that really endures is Robin Hood, and I think there's a reason for that. Once you get onto the site, we're hoping to then do some belt and braces outdoor learning of looking at the trees that we have on site and what those trees would be used for by the Outlaws. So a yew tree would be used for the fashioning of their bows, whereas oak trees were big and strong. And if we think back to something like the Major Oak, it's probably a site where Robin may have hidden out, hiding from the sheriff and their goons. Building into that, we're going to look at building a den where we can keep our loot after a successful raid on the sheriff and his supplies. And then we go into what we've kind of termed a bit of a conversation circle. And I'm going to take my stupid hat off now. Here we're really hoping that we can sit down and talk with the children about the rights and the wrongs of this, and the role that Robin Hood did, and who are Robin Hoods now. Whenever we've trialed this with children, Marcus Rashford invariably is the name that comes up as a modern day Robin Hood of asking people with something to help those who don't. And food poverty has been always the one that children mention. So we're going to pick up and run with that kind of an idea and talk about, if we're going to raid the sheriff's grain stores, what are we going to do with that? We're going to keep some for ourselves, are we going to share it equitably? And talking about those ideas. We're then going to play a big game of Grandma's Keys outside, hopefully with a teacher taking on the role of sheriff's goon. So you might get, we've also got a really incredible rubber hammer that honestly doesn't hurt if you get hit on the head with it, but allowing the children to sneak up behind you, hopefully using some camo nets, because it looks loads sillier doing it that way as well. So then sneak up behind you and thwack you on the head with the rubber hammer. Obviously, if you are a very stern and disciplinarian teacher, I'm more than happy to step in and get hit on the head with a rubber hammer by the children. And then we go back into that conversation circle and talk about that share and how we want to equitably support those who need it, that rob from the rich and give to the poor. That hopefully is the segment that you do with us on site. And then Act 6, suddenly you've got a structure, a 5-act structure, that's why I call it Act 6, of we're going to look at the trees and work out what we can use from nature and building the den. Our Acts 1 and 2 are preamble. We then sit down and work out what we're going to do. We plan. Act 4, the action, the thwack on the head. And then suddenly Act 5, we go out and share what we've taken. We've got a beautiful 5-act structure there to write our own ballad that we can then take back into school and use as a literacy starter for poetry, for short story, but hopefully as well bringing that performance side of things. If these were stories that were meant to be sung and told in a popular style. So we really hope that this is the kind of workshop that combines that local folklore, the British values curriculum in kind of a slightly cockeyed way of we don't want to do it in a really straight down the middle. Michael Gove is not my favourite person, so any way that I can make fun of his curriculum, I'm going to do it. But also do other elements and bring in other parts of the curriculum. From speaking to teachers when we first started this program, this project, it was about finding ways that we can knit together a full day of activity for schools, particularly primary. We believe that 80 to 85% of our visits are going to be from primary schools. So that's where I've put most of my effort and my energy. Not to say that we're not doing things for secondary. We really are. I've been writing a workshop about romantic poets, which is really exciting. I've had so much fun doing that. But we feel that this sort of thing, and this as an example of one that we've created specifically because of the COVID-19 situation to use our outdoor space a bit more, is one that I wanted to share with you today. And happy to get feedback and ideas, and even if you all just go, I don't want to get hit on the head by the naughty kids in my class. Also, we've got great bits of next steps. The way that we've tried to structure a day, and we've always hoped that it will be a day that schools join us for, is that we break a day down into 3 chunks. So 2 chunks in the morning and a chunk in the afternoon. You can do workshops with us, you can do cave tours with us, but we really want schools to do one element that is teacher led as well. There's our Rebellion Gallery, which talks about the history from 1642 and the raising of the standard, and the start of the Civil War, right the way through to the burning down of the castle in 1831. And if you're going to think about doing kind of 2 trips for a term, maybe seeing our Rebellion Gallery at the start of it, and then actually what happened to the people who were those rebels over at the National Justice Museum. He says plugging Joe's gaff as well could be a really nice way of doing it. We've got temporary touring exhibitions. And as I said earlier, I'm really keen and happy, and I love taking the challenge of teachers going, oh, we're doing this term. Do you have something that we can link to that? We've got a massive art collection, which is weird and wonderful and exciting and different, and we can find a way that we can potentially semi-tenuously, but we will always have somebody on that main art gallery. And if we know that we've got a school coming in, we can prime our explainer on the gallery to be able to go, ah, your X school, your teacher told us this is so-and-so painting. As I say, we're doing Key Stage 3, 4 Romantic Poets and Gothic Literature, which I'm having a lot of fun writing at the moment. And we've got a trebuchet, which we will be able to get out and play with at various points. It's only 6 foot tall. It's not like the massive one at Warwick, but the children do get to fire it. And if you're less keen on being hit on the head with a rubber hammer, you're probably even less keen to be the person that we get to fire the trebuchet at. But again, I'll happily put the chainmail on and get my shield out, and you can fire tennis balls at me, because that's part of my job and why I like doing my job. So as I say, all schools are encouraged to do at least one teacher-led activity, even if it is just going on an absolutely incredible adventure playground, which is genuinely the best part of my job, because I get to be in charge of this thing, which is really cool. And yes, if people do have specific questions, they can ask them of me via email, which is there, or we can have a bit more of a chat now. But I kind of have just done a splurge spiel, but speaking specifically about one item that Martin and I have been looking at in terms of that outdoor learning side of things and how we make sure that there is an outdoor offer for COVID. So I'm going to try and make sure my computer doesn't crash, but I will share my email address in the chat as well. So I'm going to come out of this and hopefully see all of your lovely faces again.
Right. Thanks, Gareth. That's excellent. Okay, folks. I've got one question. Obviously, you've talked about the galleries that are some of the existing galleries that used to be there open, or have they been refashioned in any particular way? You talked about the Rebellion Gallery and the Picture Gallery. What else is still there, Gareth, or has been changed?
Sure. So what used to be the car park is now a gallery in itself. So we put a roof on that. That's our new Robinhood Adventures Gallery, which is a digitally led space. So you'll come into a digital theatre in the round space with 7 giant screens. These are enormous. They're like billboard sized, which tell the stories of some of the ballads of Robin Hood. So Robin Hood and the Monk, Robin Hood and the Potter, and the death of Robin Hood when he's ambushed by his cousin, the prioress of Kirklees, and she poisons his soup. There's also digital gaming in there. So we've got our mixed reality, mixed media games. So there's 2 coach arches, which are for digital archery. So it's like, now once I've said it, I'm regretting saying it, but if you know what I mean, like the Wii controllers where you've got an archery setup. I'm explaining this really badly, and also one that you can do quarterstaff on as well. That is in a space that didn't exist before, apart from for dumping things in and people parking their cars in. It's super, super cool. The Rebellion Gallery is the old education spaces, the old Story of Nottingham Gallery, but we've taken the mezzanine level out, so it's back to its traditional height. What used to be the gift shop and kind of the main first floor of that ground floor of the gallery's space is now our temporary exhibitions gallery, We haven't yet announced what the first exhibition is going to be yet, but it's a design exhibition and locally linked. It's probably the thing that is least geared towards certainly primary school, though it could be interesting and obviously is part of your ticket. And then the upper galleries, we have got 2 galleries looking particularly at Nottingham specific industry and craft. So one gallery looking at alabaster and salt glazed pottery, and one gallery looking at Nottingham's lace story. We've then got one gallery looking at contemporary and historic collection practices and how museums came to be. Nottingham Castle is the first municipally run museum outside of London, and that was really important actually to the city. And then what we would possibly all know as the Long Gallery, that great big long beautiful space on the upper floors. We're now not allowed to call it the Long Gallery. We've been told it's called the Art Gallery. I'm always going to call it the Long Gallery. Has again been beautifully repainted. The lighting scheme's changed. We've put some new things in there, but it is still going to be a beautiful main art space. And there's also another funny little space at the back end, which we're calling the Lab, which we're co-curating with NTU for the first 3 years to do all sorts of different weird and wonderful things. But that's not always going to be open. That's kind of dependent on what they've curated in there. So all of those things sit as part of your ticket. As a school group, you will get a dedicated half-an-hour slot for your class group to do the Robinhood as your class. So you're not worrying about them all charging off or interfering with the public. You've got that space for your up to 35 kids, which we think is really good. It allows you to use that space more equitably. It allows you to split the kids up into the different sections of the space so everyone gets a go on everything, and they aren't annoying everybody else because they all want to have a go on the digital archery when there are other people queuing up to do that. Equally, you can book cave tours as well. So we've got 2 cave tour systems, the caves underneath the castle and the caves that go down from the top to the bottom of Mortimer's Hole. And those ones aren't opening straight away, and neither is the Brewhouse Yard. That's hopefully going to be open by the end of the year, fingers crossed. But more and more things will start coming into scheme as the year progresses, which includes our land train as well. There's an electric land train, which is just super exciting because who doesn't love getting an electric train from the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill? Though again, you're probably going to struggle to fit a whole class on there if you've got a full class because it's a capacity of 35. So if you've got helpers and teachers, it might be tight if you've got a big class. But yes, there's a lot going on at Nottingham Castle, and hopefully it's 30 million quid well spent.
Right, folks, question time. Any thoughts, feedback for Gareth that you can either take away or questions you've got?
I'm putting my email in the chat if you want to send me anything or go, oh, it would be interesting to do this. Kathy, did you put your hand up there?
I just wondered if you decided on the cost. You haven't mentioned.
Yeah, so for schools we have, and that's been live for quite a while. And now I have to go and remind myself what it is. I believe to do a teacher-led, it's £4.50 per child. We're doing it on a per child basis. Plan your visit. So I'm going to share this in the chat as well. So to do a self-led visit, so arrive at any time, leave at any time, it's £4.50 per pupil. And the ratios for Key Stage 1 is a supervising adult per every 6, and then Key Stage 2 to 4, it's a supervising adult for every 10. And within those ratios, those adults are free. To visit with one workshop, though we're increasingly probably going to be launching workshops in September. That's going to be £7, and then it is £9, I believe, £9 to do 2 workshops. And if you do 2 workshops, one of those workshops can be a cave tour.
Okay, great. Thanks, Gareth. Martha, you've got your hand raised there.
It all sounds fantastic, Gareth. Thank you. The thing I'm interested in is children's exhibitions of work, and I know that you're doing a project called Windowscape, and I know that I've certainly been asked by some people, and I'm sure I've directed it to you. But is that still going ahead, and is there a kind of date as to when that work might be shown, and any thoughts on that, really?
So my hope with Windowscapes is that it will be open from when we open, which will be before the end of term, in terms of the summer term. I can't tell you much more than that because people have already been told off for leaking things that are embargoed. But it will be open before schools break up in the summer. My hope is that that will be shared in a key space in the castle. I have a space I have my eye on. Our facilities manager has agreed it. I need to get SLT to sign it off. But the display of probably scanned versions of those artworks will be placed into that space with some interpretation alongside a facsimile of the piece that inspired it. Mm-hmm. And then the original of that piece will be up in the long gallery. As I say, I've got a space in mind that I think really works for this, and we've had quite a few people send pieces in, which is really exciting. We've set a 2nd of April deadline for people to send things in, so the end of this term, and I will share the details of Windowscapes. Again, we don't know how big or how little it's going to be because we don't know how many bits that we really know that we really would love to share. So it's I've probably made myself a hostage to fortune because I'm going to fall in love with every single piece that gets sent in, and I really want to find a way that we can cover an entire wall of Nottingham Castle with it. But it's going to happen because I'll make it happen, and our facilities manager will make it happen, and it's going to look really cool and be a big part of what we do in open. Because the opening has pushed back a little, we've got a bit more time to do these sorts of things, and also I get a team who, from having interviewed a lot of people last week who hopefully will be part of that team, they very much get that side of wanting to make things happen and mucking in. So I think if we find the way that we can affix things to a wall, we're all going to jump in and do it, and get a really beautiful hang sorted for it. So yes, definitely going to happen. Would welcome every school doing and being involved, and I've had somebody come to me today about trying to do a text-based sharing as well, that other people might have been approached about as well, which we might be using the outside spaces for as well. So yeah, watch this space. Lots of exciting things happening.
Yeah. Thanks for that question, Mark. I've had that on my list as well, because one of the things that we raised last time was looking for exhibition spaces and opportunities to display pupils' work across the city. So, Gareth, if you're sort of nailing or giving us a bit of a wall space, that's fantastic. I'll keep you to that. We had other offers as well from folks up in Sherwood for exhibiting space. So, all that request is being taken forward, and that's just supported us even further. Thanks. Anybody else? Any more? Obviously, just want to go there and play with the virtual staffs and bows and arrows by the looks of it. And maybe when we all get out of this, we can perhaps have a few meetings in locations such as, rather than this, which would be so much more fun. We'll have a play. Okay, thanks ever so much for that, Gareth. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you as well.
No, not at all. And as Gareth said, any thoughts, comments you have about any of that, just drop him a line. I know that he'd be very happy to talk to you and take your ideas forward. Right. So moving on to our agenda, bits and pieces. Kathy, have you got my slideshow? Can I do it? You can pop it up. So I was going to go through very quick some new faces here. So a very quick update of Cultural Rucksack, but what I'll actually be doing is updating really where we've got to since we last met, based on some of the feedback that we had. That's the end, by the way. We'll get back to the start in a minute. Here we go. Okay, thanks, Kathy. Appreciate that. So taking up, I sort of just cross-referenced the notes today to make sure we had actually picked up on all the things that we'd said. But to say, for those of you new, in essence, this is what we're trying to do. It's been an idea that's taken some time in developing, obviously massively delayed in terms of any sort of formal launching with our friend COVID, which has really delayed things well over a year now. We were looking to have our launch event this time last year as such, and begin to sort of develop the rucksack and how it might eventually look like when we roll it out to schools and providers formally. But anyway, that said, it's given us plenty of time to reflect. So that's what we're hoping to try and achieve. The key thing for me, I guess, really is that second bullet point, and it sort of links to what Gareth's been saying. Really, it's about sort of celebrating our rich heritage, both in the past but now as well. What are we now? What makes up Nottingham now? What is Nottingham like as a place to live, and how does it reflect all the people that live there, and making sure that young people sort of understand that as well is really important, and also to understand that they have a part to play in it, a very active part. So moving on, if we go on to the next one, Kathy, just going to sort of outline, I guess, a little bit more pictorially what it might look like. We talked about this rucksack, and I think Kathy and myself have been looking at this as really a journey a young person goes on. I suppose you could say, hence the term for the rucksack. But the rucksack's there because when, many people know I'm sort of vice chair and governors at Nottingham Nursery, and working with 2 and 3-year-olds, actually babies as well, at that particular setting, and they come to us already with a rucksack part full of cultural experiences based on where they've come from, the families they're within, and the communities that they're within as well. So they have quite a bit already to share, whether they realise it or not. And it's about then just supporting that young person on their journey as they wind the way through their time with us, I suppose, while at school, and to the point where they leave us either at college or sixth form at the age of 18 and move off into the big wide world, hopefully enriched and all the better for engaging with the cultural and heritage opportunities and arts opportunities that we can provide them on their way. So it's about reflecting the community. It's about sustainability in terms of making sure that offer is around and is embedded within schools and is also supported by providers. So the work of Challenge is really what this diagram is about. It's about bringing together the cultural professionals, freelancers, cultural and arts provision around the city, and how can we best use that to enrich the lives of young people, and how can we use schools to help make that link between the two. So the Cultural Rucksack, in terms of nuts and bolts, I suppose, is about that. We are looking at developing perhaps an idea of an entitlement. What sort of things would we expect young people to engage with on their cultural and arts journey through their life with us at school? What would we expect them to do within that time with us? So that's going to be really important, building on that, and we'll come to that in just a minute. Last time we talked about, it'd be quite a nice idea to sign up or to pledge something as an organisation, and that can be either both a provider or a school. I'm still chasing some time with our senior managers, if you like, and decision makers in the City Council and councillors to have a meeting about this, and making sure that they, which I know do, sort of pledge their support for it. That entitlement will reflect, what we learn, what we do, how we do it, and who we do it with. So it's about pulling those things together. And making sure as well, I think one of the important things was to make sure we got equality of access, because there are very hot spots of fantastic practice across the city, and there's some areas we don't know quite so much about. So do we know that every young person is getting equal access to the full range or a broad range of cultural and arts and creative experiences while they're at school? We all need that underpinned by things like CPD and curriculum planning. We talked about central bookings last time. We've had a couple of meetings with Andrew Smith down at College Street, and we need to take that forward a little bit and need to talk with providers about how that might work. So those are the bits that sort of join us all up. For schools, on the left-hand side there, we're looking at this age, progressive age appropriate, although the point was made last time quite rightly that you can develop some things quicker for certain groups if you've got a particular specialist in a school than you could in others. So it's not an age set, I suppose. I'm not setting it to any particular age group, because some areas you can move quite quickly through, others might progress more slowly. So it's just, I suppose, a stepped progression in terms of its entitlement. That, which we've pulled together, is linked quite strongly to the curriculum. Trying to get away from a list of experiences, though. At some stage, we're going to have to pull all this together so it becomes a little more summative, and it might well end up being the 25 things we would like you to do or engage with while you're at school with us in Nottingham. That might well appear at some stage, and we'll share some thoughts on that. The key thing for me as well in all this is the really useful role that ArtSmart will play within this, as it does within schools already. So we're saying a lot of this already, and some really good practice out there, and some schools which I think I'd love to get, look at their best practice and how we can share that around for folks. Looking for, in addition to that, so the cultural lead or team we talked about last time in every school, the role of student ambassadors and student voice within this was important, and looking at some of the opportunity for a deep dive into the art form. So those are the sort of school-based things. I'll come back onto those later, because what I have been doing in the meantime, I moved away from the schools, been talking to some providers in a bit more detail. So if Kathy, you can just whiz me on to the next slide, that'd be great. So this is what providers are saying in conversation with them. So I've been having one-to-one conversations. We also have the operations group, of course, that Challenge pulled together, which I think is brilliant in terms of getting a much bigger group, but it's been useful for me to talk on one-to-ones. And this is what providers are sort of telling me, or coming out in conversations I'm having with them. So this is what the other side of the coin is saying, really, that they want to understand your needs and the curriculum requirements. So although the entitlement bit, which I've drawn out from the curriculum, is a sort of summative for you, you'll be familiar with what that curriculum is. They've been actually asking me support in terms of, well, what does that curriculum look like? So I've done some work with them, just drawing out a much more detailed picture of curriculum links, and they valued that, and I'll be going in to support one or two of them on that. They would, like everything else, that they would really value a cultural leader, a point of contact within schools, and also would, for many of them, make sure that what their point of contact is at their end as well. Martha, you got your hand up. You can stop me at any time.
Okay, thank you, Martin. Just to say, in terms of secondary schools, it's really easy to find out what the curriculum is in those given schools if you go to their websites. It really is, I think in the days when it was hard to understand what goes on in schools, it's not difficult now at all. So I just wanted to reiterate that, and it may not be this group, but in terms of other groups, you can go down and you can look at what is the art curriculum, and it will specify exactly what kids are going to be studying in terms of genres and themes and artists. So I think that is something that is very, very useful, and is put on for parents largely, but is very, very accessible. And I just wanted to flag that. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I mean, again, primers will be doing the same, but I think, I think mostly, I think if you're looking at a provider, looking at sort of 100 curriculum plans would be quite difficult. But I think for secondaries, it's a bit easier because we've only got 10 or 11 secondaries, and that's something we could do. So that is something I've got on my radar to go look on each one for them and just draw it together. So see if we can look at any constant themes that fit from across the city. Might be quite useful for them. And we talked last time about the desire for perhaps schools to link up with a provider and get providers to adopt a school. We know that there's certain programs that are ongoing at the moment in the city. RSC, Contemporary, I know Playhouse and others are looking at developing quite in-depth relationships with schools. But it's interesting because some of the providers say, we'd love a school to adopt us. The other way around, because they want to get a better understanding of how you work and what they can do to support you. So I thought that was quite an interesting view on things. And I'd like to do that in terms of testing ideas. I mean, Gareth's put a few ideas out there today. Would love them to be tested. Are these things, have they got any mileage? Are they going to work? Do they fit into the way you teach, or your teaching and learning is develops at school? That's important for them. Again, they value the links to ArtSmart and how they could do that. And now we're going to come on to this question later on today. How can they best let you all know, schools, what they're doing, and get their message of not only the offer, their core offer, but also all the other initiatives that they have running? How can they best get that information out to you? Yes, well, that's very interesting. And they are very keen to support CPD. So that's coming from the provider side. And I've set up a small meeting of providers similar to this. And we're going to go forward. Thanks, Kathy. One of the things that we did talk about last time was a cultural map of Nottingham. And Maria started to put some ideas together. And maybe that's one way we can help schools in particular identify what provision is out there, from the the higher profile stuff that we know, to perhaps individual freelancers and professionals that might be just around the corner that could come and help, and maybe spend some time with schools, maybe have a sort of a residency, as some of them do within school. We've got artists, various artists in residence across the city. There could be opportunities to develop that further, but you may not know that they could be just around the corner, or some of those other opportunities might be around the corner from the school. So we're going to explore this a little bit more. The amount of detail and information put on there is going to be important. Racing on. The entitlement bit. So this is the other section. Right, that's it. Yeah, we're okay on that one, Kathy. We'll come back. We'll have a little break in a minute because I'll be talking too long. So the entitlement bit, again, we tried to pull together feedback from last time, and I made that point already. I think one of the key things that we've recognised is that whatever we create as an entitlement at any point in time, it should have the flexibility to change. And so we need to look at how we might manage that if we're looking at a core entitlement of opportunity across the city. I think it needs to change. It'll have to certainly change in the short term because I want it to have a greater input from more people than we've had so far. So it needs to reflect as best we can the communities and cultures across Nottingham, as well as everything else. So it's going to be something I think that will evolve. So it needs to be in a format that we can change and flex according, and also perhaps to respond to issues at the time. We're going to look at interviews just to talk about this pledge and sign up and how valuable, what we think that might be, what it might look like. The core offer from providers, that's beginning to build. So they're now populating the document that we started last time about what schools might be wanting to deliver and how providers across the city can support them. That's going to become quite a big piece of information. So we need to look at how we can best manage that for you. Say we're not just about looking at quality experiences, so looking at opportunities for deeper connections with folks. And I think I've mentioned some of those other points already. So that's what the entitlement's building up to be. Now, we've sent out with you today as sort of a summary document. I have to say I've updated that twice today already. And so I need to put that somewhere where we can begin to work and build that over the next few weeks, really, because I'm getting close to getting something I think that could be reasonably manageable and I hope helpful. Any questions so far before I rattle on too much further? We'll come back. I mean, one thing I would like to explore perhaps is the idea of a pledge. We talked about it, it was raised last time in the meeting, and we've popped it in there as something we could do, something that would be useful to sign up to. Actually, click on to the next one, Kathy, because I think I've got the next slide is. Oh no, this is a bit more about the entitlement. Just do this. So this is a bit more about the entitlement for those who aren't familiar. I've done one for reading and writing. And I know, Martha, I think I gave one for you about arts, and I'd love some feedback from your meeting as well in a minute, if I can get that. So this is part of perhaps the entitlement we're looking at. This is all sort of from a curriculum point of view. And then the next bit is what the core offer might be. If Kathy clicks again, that is both in terms of what people can be doing and how some of our city providers can support that. And then the next column, in terms of our little format, is okay, the wider offer, look at where things like festivals might play a role, perhaps school, there could be on-site delivery of various things, because cultural map, but it's also about, throughout the year, there'll be various initiatives, festivals, events that will come into this and add value to the core offer. So the middle bit's the core offer that providers are looking at. The left-hand side is what we're looking at delivering in schools, and the right-hand side of it is the thing that will constantly change as events come and go or initiatives come and go. So that's how that will be building up. That's just reading and writing. We cover all the main curricular areas that are identified, so like drama, reading, literacy, maths as well. I think we've got maths on there. No, yeah, drama, arts as well. So we've got all of them on there. You've got a copy of it. I won't look on to think straight as to which one's which. So the next one then, Kathy, if you may, be ever so grateful. So in terms of a sign up, maybe we might have something that you could sign up that might reflect some of these headings. I don't know. Martha, well, before I go on, I know that you presented some of this to, was it Nottingham Schools Trust meeting? I'm just wondering what feedback you had from that.
it feels so long ago, I can't really remember. But what I can say, Martin, she says, peddling madly. A couple of things, sorry. One is, I think having that really tangible offer of what it looks like is great. When you go back to that reading and writing one, where you've got sort of like, these are the things that you can do to meet that sort of area of interest or that area of education, that feels, I don't know, I think teachers should really pile in on this rather than me, but that feels really clear, because I think one of the things that we said was we want stuff that we can kind of put our hands on and rely on as far as possible, you know, failing another kind of blooming pandemic, you know, but knowing that Goose Fair is going to be there and that there could be something around that, knowing that, you know, with City of Literature, knowing that we've got the Festival of Science and Curiosity, and these regular things that I think Chris Hall was talking about as well. But I really love the way that it's then been expanded to be identified within that area of reading and writing. So that's the first thing. And then I think teachers come in a minute. But one other thing I wanted to say was, if I'm working at the moment with teachers on the kind of core offer of the RSC programme, of which Jane Thomas is one of the lead schools in that programme. And we have a very clear sort of idea of what it is that you get if you're part of this particular programme, which we've had to adapt because of COVID, but it is very useful to really be able to kind of understand that and know what that is, so that when you start planning for it at the beginning of each year, early on in the summer term usually, you can really maximise the opportunities that you get.
Yeah, thanks, Martha. I mean, getting this point across to providers that they're really beginning to understand that now, the value of having, as you say, something that's a constant on the whole. You know, it will change a little bit, so that you folks as teachers out there have something you can plan off with a certain degree of, you know, confidence at the beginning of the year, and having that year in, year out. Bearing in mind, of course, obviously there can be other opportunities that will parachute in that can help and support and enrich what you're doing on top of what you might have planned. So if that's the sort of, if that seems to be the right direction, we can follow up and begin to develop that a little bit further, Martha. That's, I guess, one of the things that's going to be our challenge is how do we get this information out in a manageable format, and that, you know, whether we have something like this but a bit bigger, or I think a little bit more interactive via a website. And I think the other key thing is just making sure as well with the cultural leads, I think, are really important in the schools, so that you know where to access information all the time, and it's constant. And then if you've got colleagues coming to you wanting support, you can direct them to it. So that sort of one point of contact, I think, is going to be really important for schools, so that you can't say anymore that you don't know what's going on, because hopefully you will, and you'll be able to make the most of it. Does any other colleagues have any sort of thoughts so far? Is this going to be useful? Or
shall I stop sharing the screen? Can you see me?
Yes, yeah, you can for now, I think. Yeah, I can stare at you all then. It's much easier to get some answers out of folks. So, in summary, I did give the other day, I broke down all the left-hand column of what we're delivering into 25 things, and then sort of cringed at the thought of it, because one thing we said we weren't going to do is a tick list. As we go back to the days of attainment ticking, and if we're not careful, for those who've been around long enough, well, as we're doing intense ticking at the moment, I suppose. So it's about, you know, I suppose that what we'd like young people to access, having a consistent offer, having it consistently supported, and having a package around it to help you deliver. I mean, one of those packages is about making sure that people who've got support. Currently, there are a number of, if you like, arts hubs and cultural hubs across the city that give various amounts of support. I know, Martha, NST have one. Is that right? Am I understanding that right? And I know Bulwell as well, I think, do. So there are a number of existing hubs, but I know some schools won't be engaged with any of those. And so part of our remit, or my remit at the moment, is to go out and just find out some of those. And some of those, of course, especially primary academies, will be sort of looking towards their sort of academy hub, maybe. So there could be lots of overlaps. But what I want to try and make sure is that everyone who is interested gets the support within a hub, or possibly we could link up with some lead schools. In the absence of that, might be quite useful to share good practice and learn lessons. Because I think if you're just starting from scratch, or you're looking to rediscover this, then I think it's important to know where you can go for other professional help and support.
Can I jump in there and just ask,
please,
if we could explore the art hubs idea a little bit further and have a conversation about that? I'd really appreciate it, because it's something where we've talked about kind of, you know, the idea of either having, there are some existing art hubs like Nettie's Creative Teachers Network or the NFT network that are wide across the city, available to everybody if you're part of that group. And we're mapping all those existing networks. But then where there are additional ones, we were thinking, how often would teachers have the capacity to kind of, you know, meet? You know, how do we make sure that we're not just replicating and it's genuinely something that is useful to you? And is it valuable for those to be sort of geographically based, so they are kind of schools within a particular area that can develop a relationship, you know, with this adopt a school model with arts organisations, kind of having a relationship with a certain hub, so that you know that there's a kind of mentor or arts professional connected to that particular hub area because it's geographically based. And that was the way that we're kind of thinking of it. So, for example, one of the things that's kicking off soon is the group of schools in Bilborough, as part of the Bilborough Arts Festival, are going to be working with Orla from Lit Theatre, who's delivering, you know, offering to deliver arts awards with those schools, and they'll all be doing things for the Arts Festival. So, and it makes sense for that group in that geographical area to be meeting. Similarly, with the schools in Bulwell, it kind of makes sense for the Bulwell schools to be supporting each other and working collaboratively on projects. And I know Sarah and you know, and you've been involved in that for many, many years, and it feels really supportive. I suppose my question really is just an open one of saying, what would you like, want or need from those art hubs? And if it's probably easier as teachers, it might be easier to have a conversation, but welcome to use the chat really to sort of say, just to answer that question, what would you like, want or need from the community, from this community, or from the community of teachers that are all on this journey and signing up to the Cultural Rucksack together? Maybe just spend like a couple of minutes just jotting something down in the chat, because it's just really helpful then for us to be able to capture it.
I mean, quite interesting to know. Are you? Hang on, I'm freezing and unfreezing here. Are all the teachers, all the schools represented here? Are you all members of existing hubs already? That might be an easier question to deal with. I know Kerry's nodding, and Simon, are you guys, Simon? And
no, I put my hand up, but it was just, I know we're new to this, but so what Simon and I did is we got hold of our long-term plans, and we said, right, this is what we're covering in the year. How can we improve this? How can we bring in more cultural opportunities? And we don't know, because we don't know what's out there. We don't know how to bring that in. And we almost need someone to look at our long-term plans and go, oh, that could lead into that, that could lead into that. That would be so helpful, because I don't know. I'm using the same providers that I always have done because I know they're there. But there's so many other things developing, just like the castle. I didn't know about that, and now I can see how that could build in. But if someone was available to look over those long-term plans and go, here's some ideas, it would be amazing.
Well, he says tentatively putting his hand up. Happy to help and support. I mean, Martha that links provision in the city to that particular. Then hang on, am I frozen again? Yeah, I'm freezing and unfreezing. Yeah, so just saying that I'd be happy to help. And it's that middle column that Martha was pointing out, I guess, is the one that might be the most helpful, that links the city provision to that particular area of study. Is that sort of the processy sort of thing we could be looking at?
Yeah, we're looking to enrich we're just constantly, and it's just what's out there, and we'll invest in it because we're looking for these opportunities. So
right. Okay, so I'm happy to help and support first off. So we need to have a conversation outside of here perhaps. I don't know everything, I can tell you that for now, but plenty of people around I can point you towards who will do, without a doubt. But we can lead you forward a little bit, which would be happy to do that. And I know we had a chat earlier with St Mary's School as well, offering the same, so we can do that as a practical thing.
Amazing, thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Martha had her hand up. Martha?
No, just to say that one of the things that I think staff used to find useful was there's an organisation with Artscape, which were all the gallery educators came together and would hold a meeting and talk about their plans for the future year. So it was encouraging as far as possible cultural providers to give that information as early as possible, which isn't always easy. But I do wonder when you're talking, Martin, about the wealth of information and how you could sort of drip feed it a bit more. So it might be that there's a kind of visual art event in which teachers could go to and learn about how that relates to their work. But there could be a theatre partners event, and you bring those partners together and have an event where teachers can come and meet other teachers, as well as that's what we've done in the past. And I found that quite useful. I think, and I know Jane Thomas and I work together very closely amongst many other teachers here. But, there's just not enough time to plough your way through massive documents about whatever there is available. Yeah. So it needs to be tailored, and maybe art form tailoring is one way of doing it.
Yeah, it could be. It's quite interesting, isn't it? It could be a range of options, I suppose. Yeah, art form tailoring, program of study type tailoring as well to what you're doing in school. And then, as you say, trying to manage that. There could be different strategic levels. And then I like the idea of what you're saying, because I know the providers will be very keen to club together and look at particular art form, sort of CPD, offer sessions, artscape type sessions. So we might have to have a mosaic of ways of getting information across different levels and different ways, I think. So we need to plan and sort that out. Nettie, you're much more, I'll shut up.
Oh, Nettie, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry, it's just the enormity of the task, which you've done so well. It is about the communication of it, isn't it? So the cultural map, I think, is the simple form, the starting point, the simple visual form. And it's almost like everything is layered behind it, so that, I don't want to talk for teachers here. There's quite a lot of teachers here, but it's like, start with this simple, quick visual message, and then there's depth underneath it if they need it. Because I like what you've done, Martin, which is that slide you showed with what can the providers do? What does it mean for reading and writing? That is really great, and it's dense, but it's like staff can pick that up if they can get that deep. But you need to start with the very visual thing at the start. And what Martha said about Artscape, which just hasn't happened this year because of COVID, was always a brilliant moment that, most of the teachers is where we met. And, the galleries in particular are very good at doing this. And there's that practice already. So it's not like the good practice that's already happened isn't going to happen. We've got to get out of COVID. But actually, I think whatever, that needs to be a starting point as well, is Artscape. Okay. And yes, Martha, you're right. There are, let's try to do the drama and theatre one as well. So there's already some great practice going on, and we've been slightly sidetracked with COVID. So I'm just witnessing the enormity of the task of what you're doing, but I think it's great what you're doing, and it's about trying to find the simplest way possible to communicate it. Yeah.
Well, I'm a simple sort of guy, so that sort of helps, but it doesn't get rid of the enormity of the task. But I think we can do it. I keep saying if we can't do it in a sort of compact city like Nottingham, we need shooting, really. There will be a way, and it will be a multi-layered way. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I think, relaunching a lot of this around sort of artscape and dramascape or dancescape might be one way of doing it. Whether it's might be difficult, I suppose, end of next term at such short notice, it could be possible, but we need to give people the opportunity to plan. I mean, that's where I am with our trust schools at the moment. We're planning now so that we can use the coming term to really develop some new ways of teaching and learning as it happens, because we're making the most of this opportunity coming up to do that and looking to embed those now in our planning from September onwards. So if we're looking at timings in the way that you'll be planning work and the curricula for the next 18 months, then I suppose we need to be thinking about trying to pull something together at the next term, maybe after May half term, which is when hopefully things will start easing up a little bit.
I mean, we've had a fair few ideas, haven't we, about the marketing and the communications and the things we want to produce for teachers, including a wall planner, and it was useful for us to begin a wall planner before Christmas with arts partners. That got them thinking and sharing, just in terms of how we work as a community of practice across the city as a cultural education sector. Us all knowing what each other are planning and doing is really important at an early enough stage. And we wanted to give you, in your hand, A2 kind of planners for your classroom walls or for your offices. And we want to carry on trying to pull that off and post them out to you all, so you've got them. And we were trying to think, what would you want in a welcome pack? So you've signed up to the Cultural Rucksack. What do you want? And we want to produce an annual directory that is kind of the core arts organisations and what they're doing, and that element that you can rely on year, and you can see fits in to your curriculum in various ways. But at the same time, recognise that we will still need the e-news that goes out every couple of months with those extra competitions or opportunities. We still want to be working with Captivate in the county to make sure we're gathering all that information from arts providers and producing menus on a termly basis. So there's lots of kind of sharing and kind of work going on in the background to develop kind of the marketing plan so that we can work with as many teachers as possible. But one of the things that's tricky is just making sure, and you may give us some tips, it would be brilliant to know from your point of view, how we make sure that we've got as many schools on board as possible. I mean, you're all here because you're engaged and you've heard about it from somewhere. But we're always constantly thinking, how do we best work with schools, and is it project based and we just hold on to you as soon as we find you? and emails are best, or e-news end up on junk? How many of you have seen the e-news that went out? That kind of thing. It'd be really good to possibly have as simple a sign up to the Cultural Rucksack as possible, but then a follow-up quick survey which includes a bit of a self-assessed audit in terms of how far do you feel like you're an arts rich school. So yeah, there's lots to discuss and think about. We're just really grateful to have this opportunity to talk to you about it, and you can email us afterwards with any thoughts that might crop up, as well as putting things in the chat tonight.
Come back to those points in a minute if we may, Kathy. I know Rick's got his hand up, so I'll go to Rick and then we'll come back to some of those issues. Rick.
Well, yeah, thanks, Martin. Well, it was just briefly to mention the Crest Awards, because you asked about them earlier on, and these are the science equivalents of the Arts Awards. They're very, very parallel, and many of you, those of you that do know Ignite, will know that we're constantly looking for ways in which curiosity can be expressed in creative ways. So we try to break away from the arts and sciences. We talk about creativity and curiosity as part of the cultural entitlement. And so my ambition really is to develop projects where artists feed into the curiosity of and investigations that kids themselves want to develop, and that by the end of that process they've done the work, as it were, the input to gain both a crest and an arts award. If I'm not sure, am I allowed to share screen briefly, Kathy?
I think so, yeah.
Well, very briefly, this is the Curiosity project, which we launched within the last Festival of Science and Curiosity. And it's a process whereby we support teachers and kids to come up with the questions that they want to investigate. And then we can put you in touch with scientists, researchers, STEM ambassadors, as your kind of scientists in residence, in the same way that you might have your artist in residence. And this is on a voluntary basis, so there's no budget involved. And then we've got the setup to offer a Crest Award for kids at the end of that. So this is basically the guide. It's based on our Lab 13 project, which is a space in schools that kids manage for their own investigations. But we've got things like curiosity boxes, the kind of key questions around curiosity. How is it made? How does it work? How does it move? How does it change? And finding things like the central divergent question. It's all kind of here. And then this is the slide about the Crest Awards, which, as you can see, are kind of parallel to the Arts Awards. So I'll stop there, because that's all I wanted to say, really.
No, that fits really neatly alongside everything we're talking about, Rick, to be honest. You know, I'll be talking to you, Phil. I'll drop you a line, actually, and we need to have a chat about that, because I think that's going to be it's an interesting option. I mean, for people like yourself, Christina, and just knowing about some of those sorts of things, I guess, you know, if you get the young people there to think of some really difficult questions, and then you know that someone there can get a scientist in to help them explain and take that apart, you know, it could be an exciting project, really. And so it's how we best get that information out to you, I guess, is key. The challenge for us, really. I mean, as Eddie says, we're making some progress, and you know, there's a lot of willingness to try and ensure that happens. So, in terms of Kathy's questions, I mean, we've obviously got the planner thing. I mean, it'd be good again, just putting on a planner somewhere, or having as a core offer just all the dates of when, you know, when is Black History Month, when is, you know, Women's Week. It's about all those things, all those events that happen year in, year out. They could be the core start of our planner, in effect, so that you can look then and see, well, we know that's coming up. We'll plan some work around that within what we're doing. If we then layer that across with, so for example, New Art Exchange do something on Laced at the moment about bringing some of those experiences in from some of our cultural diverse communities, then you can be looking at that. So if we can try and tie things up to you, I guess, from a school perspective, a programs of study type perspective, would that help? We put the packaging it up like that? I don't know.
And would you want that on a termly basis, like so it comes out every term?
Yeah, we need lead-in time, so it'd be for the following term's work rather than that term's work.
Yeah,
that's the thing. And as Martha will say, it's trying to get people to put information far enough in advance so they can be planned effectively by the schools. I guess this is one of the things, which is why the core offer is so important, Martha. Am I understanding that right? If you've got that core standard offer from providers, you know it's going to be there. You can plan for it. And I guess many schools can still, especially primaries, can still sort of adapt if there's an offer comes through at shorter notice. You can build that in perhaps if it's relevant. But if we can get providers having a better understanding of what's being covered by schools, then that's, if you like, opportunity that comes up as a short-term opportunity. If that's tied in more closely with what people are doing, more chance of it being relevant and you staying on track.
Yeah.
That is a big piece of work. Help.
Cool.
Right. Kathy, I've got with my presentation. I think I got to the nearly the end, didn't I? But I know you were particularly wanting to look at the marketing issue and things that you had in mind. I mean, just to say now, I'm going away from this meeting. I'm going to try and continue to work on pulling that core offer together. Even though it becomes quite big, we'll then look at ways of trying to make it more manageable. Without a doubt, I'll look at how that might relate. It does already relate to curriculum areas, but so we'll continue our workload on that. There's no doubt about that. I want to try and just build up with Kathy what the what the entitlement is. Oh, I've frozen again. So we're going to put, hopefully in the next week or two, we'll put out in hard copy, well, electronic hard copy, out to you about what our thoughts are and how we might take things forward from here, I guess in the evolution of the rucksack. So I've got a few more meetings with providers. I want that to feed into this as well. And I'm looking for perhaps one more meeting like this, just to test what we think we might be at the end of the process and see if it will work. Do people feel comfortable out signing up to a small pledge? And that pledge might say, we want to make sure that all young people have equal access to a wide range of heritage and cultural experiences that reflects, the city of Nottingham. Would that be something folks could sign up to?
Yeah, Christina.
Yeah. And then, the other thing as well, we're asking for that, all schools that sign up have a cultural link or team. I mean, the fact that you're all here, that by default, you'd be the cultural lead, I guess. So that, again, would be something you could sign up to. And if we put a list of things like that, then that makes it really quite powerful for us. And also the key thing for me is then I can probably get quite a bit of political support for it, but that might not mean money. OK, although maybe that's something else we need to look at as well. So we'll structure something along those lines, Kathy, would that be right? And then what we've linked that with is a signing up process, Kathy, which is what you're particularly interested in, isn't it, in terms of managing the marketing and the information coming out from Challenge to you folks in schools.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're developing a kind of sign up form, an online form, or we want to make it as easy for you as possible. So we wanted to take this opportunity really to ask teachers how you want to receive information and what's most, what's the easiest thing for you to do. So in terms of sign up forms, is a quick website link like the easiest thing, or is it actually because you need things as PDFs that you share with teachers so that with your heads or things, what I mean? Really simple, basic things that because you're in a school, sometimes we might get wrong, and it's like the basics sometimes that we just need to make sure are right at the very beginning. Any?
I think just a simple sign up page.
Just sign up page on the website.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And you're happy
Chrissy?
with, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just from all the links that are going off down the side there, it's great. But it puts me back to that whole, people go, oh, there's this going on, there's this going on, there's this going on. It's like, whoa. I need that time at the beginning of the year to go, right, this can fit here, this can fit here. I know this is coming up, and it's wonderful. Don't get me wrong, it's absolutely wonderful, all these links coming up. There's no way I can respond to that in this curriculum planning right now. No. Just the way it is. So
yeah, I think what you were saying, Martin, about having some sort of like almost like a web page we could go to, or a regular email update where this is all the stuff that's going on like throughout the year, and then obviously we will know what weeks or months are coming, Black History Month or Women's Month or whatever, and we can, but just having that, what is available and who are the contacts, be absolutely fantastic. Amazing. Because like Chrissy said, we have our providers that we do use, and we use them because we've used them before. Yeah. But there's so much out there that is brilliant. I mean, all the stuff that's coming up here, I've been sort of clicking on the links and having a look at the websites, and it's fantastic. But yeah, having something where that's all in one place would be brilliant if that's possible.
It is possible. We will do it. And we can make a start. There's no doubt about that. We can make a start relatively quickly. So, yeah, I've got some homework to do. Thank you very much, folks. But that's what I'm here for. I've still got quite a bit of time to give to this project. And really, in many ways, well, what we're saying to you guys, how do you want to use me in order to sort of deliver on what we're talking about? And yeah, if I can do this, I will do it, because that's what I think the job should be.
Martha, have you got your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Jane, for referencing that workshop. Next week, there are 2 workshops for primary and secondary school teachers about the transatlantic slave trade and the impact, or the impacts in Nottingham, and it's a sort of local history studies type approach with some really interesting resources. So that's really useful. So a forum where we can share stuff like this would be really useful, because it's the nature of the beast. There's always going to be woe more than we can ever comprehend, and I know you know that in what you're saying. So it's kind of like establish a core, program, or core opportunities, but we are going to there's always going to be something going on with it, which is fantastic, but you just have to go with that flow. Otherwise you'd go mad trying to figure out what everything else is going on. Yeah.
I think Nettie also had a hand up. Thanks, Martha.
I mean, you're already producing a newsletter, which challenges, which personally, I'm not a teacher, but I'm finding really important for teachers. And I'm just wondering for the teachers whether it feels useful, because the information is going out. It's just, you've got to know that it's going out, don't you? But teachers, do you get time to look at it?
We'll make time. I'll have to make time.
Yeah. But
because I think it's brilliant. I think it's fantastic. I mean, all this stuff that's going on, and having it all in one place whenever that's possible will just make life a lot easier, and then we'll be able to plan a lot easier, and a lot better.
Yeah, I think as you're saying, I think we can put it. Okay, the newsletters go out, but if you also know that there's a central place where you can still go and get that same information.
Yeah.
And even if you haven't had time to the newsletter, you've lost it in the, it's buried in all the emails. At any time you can access that information at this location.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Maria, can I ask what? Yeah.
I was going to ask Simon if he's seen the newsletter then that went out last week. No.
Buried in the emails.
So that is basically what you're talking about. It's produced already.
Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to ask is, would you use a digital version, a searchable database on our website, or a paper version? Because this is a big debate, isn't it? So where would you want to look to find stuff? And a hard copy?
I mean, if there was a place on, if there's a web page, it would be saved as favourites, and I'd be able to click on it and away I go. So yeah, that for me personally.
Yeah, totally, absolutely agree.
Have you seen the challenge website, the challengenottingham.co.uk website?
Is that in one of the links that was sent?
No, but we can put it in. So yeah, there's quite a bit in there, but we are developing it, because it literally, when we started in these roles in like February 2019, we started with a very simple, website page, information page, and it's just grown as projects have grown. So it's time to kind of maybe have a bit of a redesign and a rethink of how it all looks. Amber, would you like to?
Yeah, it's not Amber, it's Louise.
Yes,
Sorry, it's my
Louise.
daughter. No, all I was going to say was, I think at the minute we're the teachers that I've only been back one day, and I feel completely bamboozled by everything really, but that's only because we've just gone back. I think once we've kind of got back into the swing of things, to have a yearly planner available in the summer when you've got time to think and plan ahead would be really useful, just in terms of events and what's happening when.
Yeah.
Okay.
And a list of who to contact.
Yeah, I think we can do that.
And I think that's when teachers have their headspace, is when they've got, in the summer, when they've finished and they've got their time to think about their class for the next year and what they're going to do and what they want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Nottingham's great. There are so many things happening. It's just trying to get as many opportunities for our kids as possible. And we can't do everything, but you can try and get at least as many as you can manage. Thank you.
I think Gareth and then Sarah. Gareth, I don't know if yours is an old hand or.
No, it's still me. I was just going to say as well, the cultural providers in the city are really good at knowing what we can do and what we can't really want to do this, and actually we're not the right person. And this isn't something we ever say to our finance managers, because they always want bodies through the door. But if somebody comes to me and says, oh, we really want to do Tudors, we're rubbish at Tudors. We can't do Tudors at the castle. Doesn't work. But Woolerton's just down the road. And we've got a really good, useful, supportive community of museum educators, gallery educators who will probably go, it's not quite us. Maybe you need to speak to this person. So even if you do go to the wrong person, to ask them something, they will steer you right. And I think that's one of the really great things about the city. And one of the things that's really come out of Challenge is us getting to know each other better.
Yeah.
We have meetings like this where we all get together, and Nata, like Nettie and Martha and Rick know about these, and they're really good meetings. They've been really useful during COVID as well, because we don't see each other as much as we used to. So yeah, even if you email me something, you've got my email in the chat, I'll be able to direct you to somebody who I might think is right. But Kathy's always a really good person to ping an email off to as well.
Oh, thank you. I think Sarah had her hand up as well.
Hi, yeah, I mean, you was talking about getting to know about things in the summer. I mean, that's exactly what Martha's group used to do in the summertime, set out for what was the rest of the year. And as regards for contacts in school, you know, it might go to one person, it might always not get passed on, it might even just end in the office, so you don't always find out. And yet, you know, I try and find out things myself, because I know it doesn't go anywhere in school. And my other question then is something to what Gareth just said about, are you sort of, you know, are you standalone as the castle, or are there links to Woolerton and like Newstead Abbey as well? Because you all offer different things, like perhaps Woolerton's more Tudors, they've got the dinosaur things, Newstead is more Victorians, isn't it? So, you know, do you sort of all send out the same stuff, or is this bit a standalone thing that you're doing now? Sorry.
That's a good question. I think that the whole point of Challenge is to bring together all those different partners. So Challenge is this partnership of arts organisations across the city, making sure they're aware of each other and collaborating, and then bringing in educational representatives into that group as much as possible. And then having these kind of meetings, teacher insight meetings, where we can feed things back to those other, to the whole range of partners. The Challenge Operations Group usually is about 25 arts organisations that come together, sharing what they're doing. So, as Gareth said, it's it only works as a partnership. It's not, you know, it's not Martin, it's not me, and it's not Maria. It's the partners, the arts partners in the city, and Martha, and you know, all the people that are kind of working, developing these school networks and links. So it's all just really.
That's okay. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yeah. I've lost track of whose hands are up. I don't know what order you came in, but Nettie and Lou and Rick and Gareth have all got their hands up. So Lou, do you want to, are you down? Nettie, did you want to say something?
No, we're all retreating.
No, pass on to somebody else, fine.
Okay, that's how I'm down again, so we're fine.
Okay. Right, are we coming near to the end of the time, I think, without...
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so there's some actions there which we will follow up, I can assure you, because that's the job. So we will do that. If any of you want, I know, you know, Simon and one or two other, and Christina and Rosaline as well, if you want any support, so just looking at curriculum and how you could tie it in with some of the city provision, give me a shout. I won't know all the answers, but I know some people who will. So in terms of planning that, the curriculum side, yeah, I'm fine with, but it's, you know, it's such a huge range. I mean, Martha's one of a huge amount of, you know, knowledge about the area, but we've got lots of folks, you know, around who can add support and things. So that's important. We will look at how we best manage this information, how we manage it so that it's of use for you in terms of content and timing. I think those are two key challenges, and I am fairly confident we can try and get out some sort of planner, i.e. what's coming up in the next academic year, both in terms of key dates for events, but also highlighting perhaps a level of provision from our providers. And if we know it, potentially as well, any special events that they might have going on. And I think that's probably the start of our journey on the Cultural Rucksack. And hopefully that will benefit the young people that, you know, that we all work with. that they get much wider breadth of opportunity. Some more hands have gone up there. Sarah.
Right, one other question. I know long ago used to come to the castle and that. We often used to go down to the schoolroom in Brew House Yard. Is that still part in within your group, or is that all changed now and gone?
Yeah.
Because that's a big cultural thing for the city as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, speaking for Gareth, I know that the castle now is separate to Woollerton and Newstead, because obviously it's not run by the city anymore, it's run by a trust.
Do you want me to take this one,
You
Martin?
have, Gareth, yeah. Just that. I was tracking around there.
In terms of the plans for Brew House Yard, it's at the moment we have only got funding for the cottages that are on kind of the Brew House Yard ground level, not Rock Cottage, which is the one up the stairs. Though we are hoping to do more with the grounds around there, so to reinstate the dye garden and to put in a Dig for Victory garden and extend the caves offer. But it doesn't look like at the moment, because of the accessibility, because you can't get a wheelchair up to Rock Cottage in any way, shape or form, and the real major issues with damp in there, that we're going to be able to do that anytime soon. We think we've got 15 years worth of building work, because the building next door to Brewhouse Yard, the Waterworks building, that great Victorian Waterworks, is also going to be ours, which we're going to be converting to workshop spaces, and hopefully working with Museum And, who are the National Museum of Caribbean Culture, working with the British Geological Survey, working with Trenton Peak Archaeology, so to do things around Vikings and Romans and all that stuff that you have to do now, because the curriculum that I've been prescribed was given to us before Mr. Gove changed it all. Thanks, Mr. Gove. So there's loads of really cool things coming into scope, but it's probably over the next 15 years and us going back to Heritage Lottery and the Arts Council to do more and more and more. So Nottingham Castle, when it opens its gates in a few months' time, is not finished by a long chalk.
Thank you.
Right. Any more for any more? We'll get some notes out of the meeting as well. Excellent. There's a thumbs up there. And if in the meantime any of you want to just contact us, either have a chat, or you're not clear about anything, there's emails there for both myself and Kathy. Please do. More information we can get, more feeding into this, the more relevant it will all be at the end of the day, because we're not doing it for me or for thee, it's for all of you guys. Okay, so please help us. Right, my blood sugar has just dropped off a cliff, so I'm starving hungry. One of those days. So thanks to everybody. It's been great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for the teachers this week as well. Thank you.
Good luck, teachers. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Day 2 over. Day 3 coming up.
Good luck.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.